Hello everyone, welcome to MRM Sports. I'm your host, Ronald M. Game week 13 is almost done and dusted. We still have one game to go. We still have the West Ham versus Bournemouth game. I think that's a huge game in itself, man. I'll definitely watch that game. I think the implications of that game, I think if you're a Bournemouth fan, you know your team has to try and get to the earlier they get to 40 points, the better. I'm not saying this game will go obviously, but then if they win this game, it's another step closer to 40 points, which has always been a safety net in the Premier League. So I think if you're a Bournemouth fan, you will hope that they just continue to chip away on points towards the 40 points. And if you're a West Ham fan, I think West Ham, they believe they don't deserve to be anywhere near the relegation battle. So they'll do what they can. They'll fight where they can to make sure they finish in those Europa positions. If they can qualify for Europa Conference again, or if they can finish in a Europa spot again, that would be again a good season under David Moyes. So I think I'll definitely watch that game for that interest to see how the teams play, man. But then let's talk about the results on Sunday, the Sunday results of Game Week 13. I think with some huge results, those definitely implications everywhere in the table, man. You think of the top spot, Arsenal dropping points away to Southampton. It's now a 2-point lead over City. That's a dangerous 2-point because any draw or lose for Arsenal now, City wins, City automatically overtakes them. Because if it's a draw in these 3 points, goal difference favors City. If it's a loss for Arsenal and City go a point ahead, it will be difficult for Arsenal to catch City. And then you think of Leicester winning 4-0 against Wolves. Wolves are now, it's hard to say, but then Wolves might be in a relegation battle, man. I think everyone has been thinking, it's still early in the season, but then Wolves' form and Wolves failing to score goals, now even failing to defend. Wolves has always been known as a team that will at least try to keep a clean sheet or minimize the scoreline, maybe to a 1-0 defeat if they're losing the game. Now they're just shipping in goals for fun, man. And then you think of Aston Villa, a coachless Aston Villa. Gerrard gets fired. Gets sacked, really. And then the team turns up against Bournemouth and puts four past Bournemouth. What are the players? What was Gerrard thinking when he was watching the game? Because I think chances are he was watching that game. Then you see all your forward players scoring. See Leon Bailey having the game of his life. Ings stepping up with goals. What was Gerrard? What would Gerrard say? That's football for you, man. And then of course, man, I think the game I have to talk about first, the Spurs versus Newcastle game. Spurs lost the game 2-1 at home. Again, man, there's this. If you're a Spurs fan, I don't know where you guys. I would love to interact with the Spurs fan. Where do you guys get this belief that under Conte you might win something? You failed to win under the set up winner, which is Jose. I know Conte is also set up winner, but then where do they get the feeling that under Conte they will, like they're guaranteed to win a trophy of some sort? Because I can tell you, I don't think Spurs will win the Champions League. I think Spurs fans will also tell you they can't win the Champions League. Conte has managed better teams than the Spurs side and has failed dismal in the Champions League. So what guarantee do they have? They won't win the Premier League. I doubt they'll win the FA Cup. I genuinely have doubt. I think City, you still have teams who are favourites to win that cup ahead of Spurs, man. So this notion that under Conte we might accept the terrible football, but then at least you will give us something in return. What will you give you guys? Because all I can see is Conte being frustrated that he doesn't get more players in the January transfer window. I support a team which Conte was a coach of. So I know how Conte times becomes too obsessed with new signings. He did get his way in this past transfer window. But then at the moment, we can still see that Spurs are lacking. And the weird part is people thought that Spurs had won the transfer window really with the signings they made. And I remember talking in some of my WhatsApp groups about football, and then I was saying that Spurs are missing. I remember when Eriksen was a free transfer, and I was saying, I wonder if Conte would go for him, but then it didn't really work out between Conte and Eriksen at Inter Milan. So what guarantee? Spurs definitely needed a number 10. They needed someone like a Maddison. I'm always shocked how big teams seem to be ignoring Maddison, who for me is definitely one of the most important creators in the Premier League. After KDB, which player can you say can put up numbers like Maddison from a creative point of view? Quite a few. I can't think of any. Think of, if you can take out KDB, Arsenal, who can create like Maddison? Chelsea, Spurs, West Ham, Newcastle, who can create like Maddison? No wonder Newcastle wanted Maddison in their side, because he is a creative outlet, and I think Spurs would benefit with such player. Because this notion that Kane can be the creator and finisher, how long can he do it for? I mean, I think now, if you nullify Kane, if you mark Kane, I mean, if a smaller team playing against Spurs, just put a midfielder, maybe play with a four-man midfield. Just put someone there to mark Kane. Drop with Kane, unless if he goes offside, just drop with Kane. Take care of him. Make sure if he turns, if he can nick the ball or foul him and get, these warnings, and then just make sure you get a yellow card. I mean, what will Spurs do then? Because honestly, all their players seem to be ineffective when it comes to creating. And I think that's a problem that Conte is starting to have. And it will persist until, for me, he changes maybe his formation, or it goes to a 3-4-3, or I don't think Conte will play a back four anyway. So he has to go to a 3-4-3, because this 3-5-2, really, like, in as much as it tries to put bodies in the midfield, at times it leaves them lacking. Again, I think we saw against United, and we saw again when especially Newcastle were 2 up, and you needed to find ways to get a goal. I mean, he had to change the system, to bring in Lucas Moura. But then again, Moura is not really a creative; he's more of a winger. They need someone from the midfield who can be creative and release Son and release Kane in a up-front position. Not for Kane to drop deep, try to spin and play in Son or Lucas Moura, not Morrison. Oh, sorry, Lucas Moura. I think that is definitely Spurs' biggest problem. And again, if we talk about the defense, I mean, Eric Dyer pulled off. If that goal had become an own goal, it was going to be the worst own goal of all time. I mean, that back pass to Hugo Lloris, wow, was hard. I could see Lloris panicking to try, and it ended up being a corner. From absolutely nothing, they put pressure upon themselves. I think, the defense, Conte's teams has always been held for defensive displays. But then the Spurs side, man, again, I mean, which defender can you say is world class or is at the top level? I think it has to be Romero. I think it's him only. I don't think Eric Dyer has been on form, but then I wouldn't say he's a world class defender. I wouldn't say Longley is a world class defender. Others back, I wouldn't have let him go. I wouldn't say, definitely the fullbacks, I wouldn't say any of them is a world class defender. So I think he needs to work on that. And with Lloris, man, at the back, 1 week he is cold, 1 week he is hot. I mean, the game against United, in as much as they lost 2-0, he was on fire. And then yesterday, I think the Amarin goal, the fact that he sneaked right underneath his ribs, man. And another keeper could have saved that. And the Wilson goal, for him to come out and then chase the ball and then hopefully claim a foul, which for me, I don't think it was a foul. It was just two players coming together, So I think he could have done better. Maybe put your head onto it. Just try and head it away, or just, I don't know, just anything else other than that, giving away such a cheap goal. And against the side too, if they score first, it'll be difficult for teams to come back this season. And let's just talk about Newcastle. Newcastle are definitely a top 4 side. I mean, their results against top 4 teams. You think of how they drew City, they've drawn with United, they've managed to defeat Spurs. Liverpool are lucky to get a victory against them. If that was my team, Chelsea, I would say that's a good form. You lose to one of the top 6, you draw with 2, you defeat 1. That's definitely like a top 4 team. I mean, that's a good result against top 4 teams. And they are now in the 4th position. And they still have to play Arsenal and Chelsea. And as a Chelsea fan, I'm definitely worried. I think Arsenal fans will also be worried against playing Newcastle, really, because they are a strong team. I mean, they're compact at the back. The midfield of Bruno Guimaraes, of Joe Linton, and Joe Willock. I mean, it's a new midfield that flies under the radar a bit, but then it's hard working. It has titles in them. It has a creativity side in them. It has goals in them. So it is a complete midfield. I mean, if you put it against Chelsea's midfield, yes, unless if Kante is back, then we can say. I mean, against United midfield, we can say they can beat United midfield. We've already seen that. I mean, they managed to go toe-to-toe with City's midfield. They managed to go toe-to-toe again with Liverpool's midfield. So this team, Eddie Howe has cooked the top, I can't say guaranteed top 4, but definitely top 6 side, which is top 4 contender this season. I mean, Chelsea are still in a rebuilding process. United are also rebuilding under Ten Hag. Liverpool are a mess. So what's stopping Newcastle from finishing in the top 4? I mean, I think if they do manage to get the top 4 position, for me, that would be Ed Howe is to get the Coach of the Season award. I know Arteta is doing it, but then no one predicted Newcastle to be fighting for top 4 already. Everyone thought maybe in 5 years' time, then when they like start bringing in world class after world class players, maybe. So if he gets top 4 right here, right now, the season, I think Ed Howe it's a no-brainer. He has to be the coach of the season. Yeah, we have to give him. Unless if City win the quadruple, and then you can say, yeah, City, I mean, this is something that has never been done in EPL. But then, nonetheless, they have to be considered. I mean, look at the second part, strike force. Isak is still out. Wilson, is a guaranteed goal scorer. Creative side, once, what's his name? What's the guy, what's his name? His name is right away from me, man. The winger, Saint Maxman. When he's back, it's another dimension. Imagine this. You have maximum one side, you have Amaron on the other side. That would be scary attacking. Then you put Isak up front or Wilson up front. That's a scary front three, man. That's a scary front three with creativity, with goals, with natural goal scorer. I mean, that's a scary side. So I think Newcastle is definitely now the team to watch out for. I did say in my past videos, I think Newcastle is the most dangerous team. I said the top 4. I think now Newcastle is that team that anyone hates to play. Previous seasons, it has been Leicester. I think last season it was West Ham. This season is definitely Newcastle. They're a team no one wants to play against now. They can pick up points. I mean, the last defeat came in I think it was the Liverpool defeat. Was it in August? That was the last defeat they had. I mean, they went through September, October. They haven't been defeated by any team. That's quite an impressive run, man. And then, of course, let's talk about Arsenal. I think, first half, that was brilliant of Arsenal. I mean, the goal came from Xhaka again. I think Xhaka is having a season of his life, man. Definitely one of the most improved players, definitely this season in the midfield for any team. And you think how, I mean, everyone thought, when the first goal went in, I really thought it would blow Southampton away. But then I said in my previous video, Southampton is so unpredictable, man. I mean, going in half time, I never thought that game would end in a 1-0. I thought Arsenal would come again and just start bearing goals, and maybe finish 3-4-0 or 4-1. But then Southampton, they changed the shape in the first half after conceding the goal. Then they started playing. Second half, I think they went toe-to-toe with Arsenal. I mean, they definitely did. There's some chances to really hit on the counter, especially towards the later stages of the game. They could have easily won that game. I think if the players had made the right decision, I remember the Woolcourt chance where he tried to take on 3 players instead of just floating into a Southampton player and them hitting them on a break. But then the goal they scored again was a beautiful goal. I mean, I think for me, Ralph Hasenhuttl is a good coach. Definitely underfunded coach. You think of how other teams are spending money. For me, if I was a Leicester fan and okay, Brendan Rodgers has managed to actually like maybe turn it around a bit. But then if they'd fired him, I would have thought they'd have gone for Ralph Hasenhuttl. I think he's a good coach. I definitely do. With the funding he has, with the quality of players he has on the pitch, and he continues to get results for them. He continues to keep Southampton up season in, season out. I think he's a good coach. And, I mean, for Arsenal, on Arsenal's side, man, those are 2 points dropped. In as much as they didn't lose, previously, Arsenal, I think, would have lost that game. But then now, the fact that they drew, again, it feels like a loss because City are right on the tail. Yes, City are dropping points. But then the quality City has, I mean, I think Arsenal, dare I say, they need a natural goal scorer. I think, in as much as Jesus has been a revelation, man, I think there's a reason why Pep let go of him, I think we're starting to see the reason why Pep let go of him. Because in a game where a team needs a goal, Arsenal needed a natural number 9. I think that's why Arteta brought in Nketiah, man. They needed someone to just get that nick of a goal. You know what Haaland is expected to do for City now? In those tight games against teams you expect to defeat when they're sitting deep, you need that natural goal scorer who would just nick a goal and pick. I'm not saying City don't draw games, of course they do. But then, I mean, when last did Jesus get a goal for Arsenal? That's the thing. You need a striker. If you're going to win the Premier League, I think you need a striker who gets a goal in every 2 games. I mean, of course, if you have Haaland who scores goals in every 50 minutes, that's a bonus. But then you need a goal in every 2 games. You think of the teams that have won the Premier League in the past seasons. I mean, taking away from City. You think of how Chelsea under Diego Costa, that's time they won the Premier League. You were that kind of striker, goal in every 2 games. I think he finished the season with 15, 16, 17 goals, which is really a goal in every 2 games. So I think Arsenal in the January transfer window, I think that's a department Arteta has to look at. I wouldn't say they should go for an out-and-out striker because then it destabilizes the balance, really push issues. But then they need maybe, even if you have to get a seasoned striker, someone who come and be happy to sit on the bench, and then you call on him second half when the teams are when the game is still a sticky game. I mean, think of how Jose used to do it. I mean, I remember when they brought back Drogba, when Costa was there. That's what I'm talking about. Bring in a seasoned striker who will come in, know that he's second fiddle to Jesus, but then if Jesus is injured or if anyone is injured, he can slot into the team and he can contribute positively. I think that's what Arsenal has to try and do, man. Then on other results, Aston Villa 4, Brentford nil. I definitely didn't see the result coming. I mean, even in my FPL team, I have Brentford assets. I thought at most I would keep a clean sheet, but then, man, that new manager bounced. That new managerless bounce. I mean, Stevie G. I mean, how was he feeling when I was at home watching that game? Obviously, I think he was watching the team just to see how they perform, and then they pulled off a first-class performance. I mean, putting 4 against the Brentford side, who people thought would win the game. I think Bailey was on fire. I think Ings got 2 goals, man. I mean, the strikers, the attacking players have let them down. I think even the defense for Villa, I mean, Mings for the last 2 games he had let his teammates down, really. So were they really playing to catch the coach sacked, or they're just not happy with the coach's tactics? Because as a Chelsea fan, I mean, I know all about players letting downing tools for the coach to get fired. I mean, I've seen it time and time again at Chelsea. So did Villa players really down tools for them to just, it's really missed now. I mean, but then nonetheless, man, for the players, I think they did redeem themselves because I think they did show that we are quality players. Maybe the coach was not giving us the right information on how to play or even the formation. Because, most of the time when a coach is fired, the team just falls onto basics. At the times, coaches do try to complicate things. I mean, Gerrard at times would chop and change the squad. 1 minute he plays a partnership of Ings and Watkins. 1 minute continues in the flank, is in the midfield. He used to chop and change everything. And that at times accepts the balance of players. I mean, you're dealing with guys who are millionaires, first of all, and who think they know all about football players. And if you're a seasoned player like Gerrard, at first they might take to you and then they realize, no, man, this guy, what is he trying to do? And maybe that was the case of Aston Villa. I'm just speculating here, guys. And then, of course, Brentford, I think that was a disappointing defeat. I mean, you could see first half, I mean, their coach, the camera kept on glancing at him. I mean, you were surprised. You were shocked to see what's up. I mean, you have a good draw against Chelsea. Next thing, you're being defeated 4-0 away from home. I mean, goals are just flying in left, right, and center. I think it was 3-0 at half time. I mean, he was just shell-shocked. I think it was just another bad day at the office for him. And interestingly, I heard a report somewhere that Aston Villa were looking to hire him as a coach. So that changed their mind. I mean, that was a good scoreline for Aston Villa nonetheless. And then, of course, Fulham. Let's talk about Leicester. Leicester versus, I think Leicester played Wolves, man. I'm worried for Wolves. I think Wolves are in the dedication battle. They will go down. I think it was a good 4-0 victory for Brendan Rodgers, just to ease the pressure on him. Because every week now, you only think if Brendan Rodgers has a bad game, maybe he gets fired, If Brendan Rodgers doesn't perform, maybe he goes. So for him to win 4-0, I think that was an important victory. And to get to see Jamie Vardy getting on the scoreline. And again, Madison doing Madison things. I think for me, he has to go to the World Cup for England to go. I mean, obviously, England, again, is one of those, they will play teams that sit deep. And Madison, unlike any other player in the England squad, Madison is a creative midfield. He's a number 10. He's an old school number 10. Yes, you have a Mount, you have a Foden, but then you have a Grealish. They like doing a cutting from the flank. I think for Madison, he can play that. If you go to the 3-man midfield, Madison, he will be your number 10. Just a bit down from the striker, always fitting the striker and getting in the box late and scoring goals. So he's definitely an asset, man. For me, I think my team, Chelsea, is crying out for a player like Madison. In as much as your Mount, your Ziyech, Pulisic, they are not, for me, those creative midfielders. They're not a CAM, as CAM, as we call them, especially if you play FIFA. If you're picking up your team, if you play 4-2-3-1, always have that number 10 just behind the striker, man. I think Maddison definitely needs to move to a bigger side. Not disrespect to Leicester, but then I think under a Chelsea or under even a Spurs, I think he'll pull up. Maybe he might get even 10 assists and maybe 10 goals in a season. I think he has that in him. And if he gets another level of coaching from a world-class coach, he can definitely get those numbers. And then, of course, Fulham against Leeds, man. I think March is in a tight spot. I mean, the fans were chanting he's getting fired this Monday morning. So wait to see the news. Will we light a torch for him? That's still a mystery for us. But then, I mean, Willian is scoring goals. It's so weird how Chelsea let go of him, and then our wingers are failing to get goals, and Willian is scoring goals for Fulham, man. I think that's what happens when a team is not creative. Chelsea are not a creative side, and Fulham are playing. I think this season around, Fulham will be targeting a top-half finish. I mean, if they finish 10th or 9th, that would be a great season for them. The amount of money they've invested in the squad over the years, I mean, and it's vindicated really because bringing Willian from Brazil to join you guys again, and he's contributing positively. I mean, he's a senior player now. Obviously he is the motivator for the younger guys. He is one of the leaders in the dressing room. And again, Mitrovic, I mean, it's getting, now, Fulham at that side, if you put the ball in the air, Mitrovic is there. On the ground, they have players who are creative, we can give him to the foot. I mean, they are looking like a good team. A team that will give teams problems. I mean, again, Chelsea has to play. It will be London derby, so it will be interesting to see. But nonetheless, man, Game Week 13 has been interesting. We have midweek Champions League games. Champions League, the cream de la cream of European football is back. And of course, Europa. I mean, there are big teams in Europa League. Let's not disrespect your Manchester United and your Arsenals in the Europa League. But nonetheless, yeah, man. And of course, Europa Conference. So I'll definitely be looking at Champions League and Europa. Definitely do a preview because we have some big games in the Europa. I mean, the Barca game, that's the one that springs to my mind. I mean, we have some huge games. So I can't wait, guys, to talk about Champions League football. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And again, we'll be back for Game Week 14, man. It's going to be another dope game week, another huge game week for big teams. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, the Premier League is by a long shot over. And week in, week out, will keep on I think the tempo will keep on changing. It still feels like the Premier League is still early days. But then, in as much as we played 13 game weeks, it still feels like it's early days. And anything can happen, like I said. Any team at this moment, especially in the bottom half, they can get relegated. In the top 4 positions, I think for now, City and Arsenal are guaranteed top 2. I don't know which order, but I think City will be first, Arsenal second. Spurs are in the top 4 battle. I mean, I would be surprised if before the World Cup when Spurs are 5th or 6th, and Newcastle is 3rd and Chelsea 4th, hopefully. Or even Arsenal, Man United 3rd and Chelsea 4th and Newcastle 5th, something like that, man. Anything is still possible. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the videos. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the engagement. This has been fun. It's still a learning curve for me. Thank you guys for supporting me all the way, man, and putting on some pointers and hinters. I appreciate that a lot. Be aware to check out new content. I can't wait to talk to you guys again. I'm Ronald Dem, signing out. Cheers.